Right, so first, if you're going to approach this problem by hand, you have 2 points, right? You have the point 0, 3 that you see right here, and then you have the point 6, and then 2187. Okay, now, if you recall from the earliest notes, we talked about the general form has a y-intercept at the point 0 when x is 0. Okay, and so this is our y-intercept right here, 3. Well, the y-intercept is your initial value, okay, and the initial value is a. Okay, so just by looking at this, we know what our a value is. So we have f of x is equal to 3 times something to the x, okay, or I'll call it b to the x. Okay, so once we have this value, because we know our y-intercept, again, this is our a value, is the y-intercept. What we can now do is use the other point, x and y, to solve for b. So my y value, 2187, is equal to 3 times b to the power of 6. And so it's just a matter of divide by 3 and then extract this root. And you can either, if you know how to use the roots, you can use the 6th root, or you take the reciprocal power, the 1/6, which is just going to be easier for me to do. So when I do my calculation by hand here, I'm going to get 2187 divided by 3. That gives me 729. I'm going to take that to the power of 1/6. Close that off, and I get 3. So my base also happens to be 3. So my function, my final answer here is f of x is equal to my initial value, my intercept, times 3 to the power of x. And again, it'll probably, not sure exactly how it'll be entered, but any of the forms would be fine. You can use the equation editor for that as well. But this would be my equation. Okay, now, if I was using a calculator to do this, which is also still fine, okay, what I would do is I go into my data matrix editor, which is in the apps, for me, option 6, and I'm just going to access my current value. And I can clear it. I can use F1 and then 8 to clear the editor. And then I'm going to enter my coordinates here. So my x coordinates are 0 and 6. So I hit 0, enter, 6, enter. I'm going to scroll over and enter the corresponding y coordinates in column 2. So 0 corresponds to a 3, 6 corresponds to a 2187. So there's my entries. Once I have my entries done, I can now do the regression equation. So to do the regression, I'm going to use this Calculate tab, which is F5. And I'm going to choose for my calculation type option 4, which is the exponential regression, because that's the type of equation I'm dealing with. Okay, and then for my x and my y, I need to identify which column contains those variables. So my x is in column, or C1, column 1. Okay, so once you begin this, the very first cursor here is already in alpha lock. Okay, meaning if I hit this button with the C, it types the C, and then notice it. Let me go back here. So when I type in the C, notice that this little icon here is highlighted, so that means it's in alpha lock. I only wanted that first letter, so I have to deselect the alpha key to get 1. And then I can scroll down to the next the next row, or the y's. It's no longer alpha locked here, so now I have to use alpha to access C2. And then I always put it, store my regression equation into the y editor just in case I need it to use in something else. So I'll enter that in y1, and when I hit enter, it's going to give me my calculations. My a value is 3, my b value is 3, and so I get my equation that way as well. And that confirms what I wrote here.